Who's there today?
I feel like there's more coming. Hold on. That's what you meant. Okay. So, Griffin, usual crowd of your family.
Okay. Love you, Griff.
Then the sweet peas.
Hi, sweet peas.
There's 5 of them. That's family. Oh, aunts. There you go. Mom.
Peggy there today?
No, Peggy's not here today.
Well, she better get there because her daughter has a question for her.
Griffin said, don't worry, coming. Because it's the rest of the people. Your mom is starting to bring in the followers' family.
Oh, awesome.
So it's almost like they are getting to watch the content like as it's being filmed and they can contribute.
I love it.
Oh, wait. Whoa. You want them to contribute. What does that mean? So they will communicate to Griffin then. So Griffin will be point person even though you're bringing them in. Okay. And then we'll, if we can, we'll say who they are.
Okay, awesome.
If they want to add their 2 cents.
Awesome. Love you, Mom.
Oh, she loves you.
How are you doing, Griff?
He said, I'm doing wonderful and I'm ready. He said, you have a list of questions and a lot of people who are ready to tear down your door if you don't get to them.
Right.
Get to them.
Get to them. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Because that's my mom.
Right?
That's my mom.
Exactly. Okay. Let's start off at the top. Okay, some of these questions I notice people don't put their last name, but when I read the question, sometimes I feel like it's something that could be applicable to anyone, so we'll go ahead and ask it. And if I need to respond to the person to get a last name, just be honest that we need to know the last name. Okay. Dear Marshawn, thank you for creating this site and your YouTube channel. It's bringing a lot of peace and hope to those of us who've lost loved ones. So that's to all you guys. Thank you. And Jamie. Okay. I'm wondering if it'd be all right to ask Griffin a question. Griff, are you all right for a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is from Justin William Marsh. Okay? And, okay. It's about my brother Mike. And, of course, he doesn't put a last name. So let's just talk about this for a minute. Justin's brother Mike, who passed away from an opiate overdose. Actually, while staying in rehab, where he'd been clean and sober for 6 months. His death shook our family to the core, particularly my mom. Can relate with that, because it seems so senseless. We're wondering, however, if battling addiction was actually Mike's sole plan, and how experiencing his addiction and death relates to our soul's plans. Hopefully this question makes sense. It is so reassuring to hear the information you're putting out there, and thank you for what you're doing. Love, Justin. So Justin's brother, Mike.
Oh, got it. Mike's here.
Okay.
There was a lot of great things Griffin was saying during the question.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask him if he goes back. When the brother started asking about does addiction play a role, or even was that Mike's purpose, and which Mike is agreeing that was his ultimate agreement with himself, that he would travel down the path of addiction before he would be able to allow himself to live. And that's a weird thing to say, but I think people who have addictions would understand.
Right.
Because it shapes your personality, it drives your thought, it drives every action and step of your day. And Griffin was even taking it back to infancy, showing the addiction to a pacifier, an addiction to touch or being held,
Okay.
which goes back to being secure, safe, confident, self-soothing techniques that if they weren't addressed in younger years of how to, kind of do for yourself. And Griffin's like, I'm going to be really clear. I'm not saying like go be mean to your baby. He said there's a need to be pacified, but at the same time, as it's happening, there is an understanding that you are in control over the pacifying, not the object or not the action. He says Mike didn't get all of that kind of attention, and so he used it to play to his hand for his agreement that he made with himself to have addiction. Griffin goes, I'm not saying that every mommy in the world is the one who created addiction. He goes, don't put that on me either. I'm just saying that it is showing up in early years. Those who have the tendency to lean towards it need it when it's not necessary. Mike was joining in and saying that since it was part of his agreement and he couldn't get out from under it, that he knew when he was doing the drug that something was wrong, but by that point you couldn't turn around or fix it. He remembers passing out. He doesn't have any memory of anything else. Nothing. The way he tells me, it just, boom, it goes dark. So he doesn't have any stress or trauma with it, but he knows that it was done by his own choice, which really has eaten him up for a long period of time. And he sympathizes with his mother greatly. It has no bearing. His choice that he made in rehab has no bearing on anybody else but himself. He was a grown man making the decision against my internal voice that was telling me I couldn't live without it and week without it, and I needed to let myself feel okay with it, and that was the only place that joy, and that you can't get joy anywhere else unless you allow it in. And he said it was just one, see what it was offering, and it took his life. Did it make sense where Griffin was going? Because the images were so poignant during the question that we talk a lot about addiction and death when teenagers and adults, but Griffin was just like, man, we see these patterns in itty bitty people.
I understood everything you said, Griffin, but the only thing I would ask you to maybe explain a little bit more so that when the son hears this, the brother, if I heard this as a mom, I would think, oh, I didn't love my baby enough, so he became an addict. I can look at it deeper than that, but I think that might be my initial defense mechanism. Like, uh-oh.
Good, that's what I wanted to hear, because I wanted to make sure it got across, because it wasn't a measurement between mother's love to the baby.
Right.
It's almost like you can see this kind of agreement or contract a person makes, Griffin says, when you observe a baby and they're already showing the signs of hoarding or addiction to pacify. And he goes, most likely we can look at the past life connection that's coming with this agreement.
Absolutely.
That's playing out and resolve it in infancy. And he said, now it's just an awareness moment for mommies that have babies. It's not a moment for you to freak out and think that your child's life is definitely in your hands now, because if you blow this one, you're blowing it for later.
Absolutely.
He says, not that. He said, kids are cute. We overlook a lot of things they do because they're just so cute.
Right.
But
I wanted my boys to suck their thumbs. I thought it was so cute.
I think it's adorable.
It's the cutest thing ever.
But he says if we help them learn self-soothing without needing an action or an object, we're really giving them the tools to overcome their agreement or their contract.
Right, right.
Hereditary or not hereditary?
Yeah, Dylan was a thumbsucker. I couldn't get Griffin to do it, but I kind of see that like you're teaching them how to self-soothe without an object. Like it's within themselves, their own thumb, you know? instead of a pacifier, maybe.
He's saying yes.
Yeah.
Does it kind of make more sense now?
Yes. And do you have anything to say to your brother or mom to put them in any kind of peace, or are you in peace now, or?
Mike says he has a lot of peace.
Good.
Peace of mind. It's not gnawing at him all the time.
Right.
He had an internal voice, he said, that would just chew him up. And he could hear a lot of his dad in it every now and then, like the wanting of an expectation but not following through on what it was.
Right.
And so he would have to be bigger and better to make it okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the story he told himself, even if his dad wasn't instigating it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Mike told himself needed to happen.
Right.
And he said, to see myself without all of those things at play, I can see that I could have made that switch when I was alive. I didn't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
But he's
to
saying
that.
he doesn't have to repeat this ever again.
Can we get an amen for that from everyone? Yeah.
Griffin's doing a very dramatic amen for you.
Right. Well, I'm thankful that your brother found the site and asked Griffin and found you, and we will definitely let him know you're in peace and send a message to your mom. Okay?
He's saying thank you.
If you ever want to come back or need to relay a message, feel free.
Hey, your mother has already told him that.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Hold on.
He says, thank you. He says, goodbye. I love you, Mom. Goodbye to his brother. He said, I love you.
Aww. So touching. So touching. Okay, let's go to another question. Okay, Griffin. This question is for, wait a second, the gang in spirit. So Griffin and Mom and everyone. I love that. You're Jamie. Okay. She's not gonna give me her full name. Helyne.
Okay.
Okay. I have had no life taking care of my sick and aging parents for over 10 years. Can you guys in spirit help me figure out how to have a life? I spend the morning with my parents, then come home after noon and rest for the rest of the day because of chronic immune issues of mine. They don't have the money to pay for in-home help. I also deal with mental issues like depression and suicidal ideations, which were implanted into my psyche as a child from cult abuse. Thank you for any help or ideas you can give me. All the best, Helyne. It looks like her last name is Meadows, Medros, from the email. Helyne. And I felt too that this is kind of a general question because we all suffer from being obligated to things we don't really choose, and a lot of people suffer depression, so I figured we could answer this for her.
So your mom and Griffin are answering the question.
Okay.
Your mom starts off with a very sincere hello.
Okay.
And she's thanking her for reaching out and that she will spend time with her to help this process. The image your mom is showing is taking every minute that you spend care providing for your parents because they don't have in-home care, they don't have the funds for it, that you spend a minute doing the task for them and spend another minute learning how to delegate the task. So if you're there for an hour of you is doing the work, let's say it's laundry or cleanliness or medication, then the next hour you're sitting there and you're figuring out what kind of delegation process can you put into place. Is it through a Skype situation? Is it through organizing it better than ever? And that they have to mark things off, so that makes a list for you to do when you get there, that you know what's been done and what hasn't been done. Or is it getting volunteer help or looking at communities that come forward for free? to help. So you would take that other hour, my apologies, you would take that other hour to find other communities that can offer support or other ways to make this easier on you. This is taking a lot of your time, and you must have the deepest heart, and it keeps going forever and ever that you have this time to invest into your parents, but that it's important to take care of yourself. So Griffin was coming in and saying that it was time really for the lesson in no thank you. No thank you, I can't come as early today. No thank you, I can come in the afternoon, change up the times. And you're saying no thank you so that you earn more time for yourself. But Griffin goes, it's never going to be fun giving time to yourself if you don't feel good about giving time to yourself. If you live with the shame and the guilt that you're putting your cares and needs in front of your elderly, poor parents' cares and needs, and what will other people think, then you're not going to have a good time with this at all. So got to sit down and ask, why are you doing that? Because you love them? Great. Because you want to be loyal to them? Okay. But where is the priority of self-love, self-care, self-maintenance? So Griffin says to switch the scales, do for yourself first, and then do for your parents. It'll be a hard thing to switch, but as soon as you've got the dial turned where you're in first position and they're in second and third, your opportunities are going to get bigger. The outside world. I just had a beautiful moment at the grocery store to complete my stranger, and I really felt like they were a friend, and you start making friends and earning your life back. But it will require you to change positionings and priority. Your personal health care with the depression and didn't she say mental imbalance or
suicidal ideations that were put in her psyche from a child from a cult.
He says, Griffin is talking, when you have the suicide thoughts or the triggers or whatnot, however it's been put in, he says the easiest way to acknowledge a thought or something that was indoctrinated into your energy, whether you love it or not, is to give it attention when it shows up. If you don't give it attention when it shows up, it acts like a 2-year-old. It throws a tantrum. It gets bigger. It gets madder. It puts its hands on its hips.
I love that analogy.
And it can overtake you. It will choose not to be quiet until it's got its attention. And by then, you might give in just to get it to shut up.
Right.
So by paying attention to it immediately, okay, I'm having these thoughts. Is that really me? You ask, is that really me? Or is it coming from somewhere else? 99.9% of the time, it's coming from somewhere else. And you'll just get that niche, that no. You'll just get the notion, it's not niche, it's something else though. Oh, it doesn't belong to me. So then you go, okay, it doesn't belong to me, so I don't need to feed it anymore. If it does belong to you, just go, okay, what is that going to give me? And does it meet my needs? Those are the 3 questions. Is it mine? What's it going to give me? And does it meet my needs? And you can sit down with a pen and paper, and it can be your mighty counselor, your pen and paper, because you have a pretty rational head here. You're not off your rocker. You're just asking for a better quality of life. You're asking for joy. You're asking for freedom from your past. And you're asking to have your own life. And Griffin says these are all things that you can do, but you'll find you can't do it all alone, that you will need some kind of support, especially with your parents. And they talked about that before.
I love all that advice. And Griffin, what do you think about personally when I've had struggled thoughts? I need to get off my chest and tell somebody. And if it's a sound person of sound and mind and loves me, then they're not going to lock you up or anything like that. I always start off by, I'm not going to do it, but I have this, but I just can't shake it. And sometimes just letting it out, like the pen and paper, or get rid of this internal dialogue in my head that keeps circling,
He was like, I agree with you, Mom. And he says most of the time that dialogue is circling and getting bigger and bigger because you're not addressing what you really do need.
Right.
And he goes, since my mom used it as an example, oh, he's going to use you as an example. I hope that's okay.
That's okay.
That she said when she shares with other people, she feels better. And she's very clear that she's not going to do it, but she's having these thoughts. So in the act of sharing it, she's being heard, she's being seen, she's being acknowledged, and she's remaining autonomous. Is that the word?
Independent.
Independent. And those are qualities that she needs. And when they get met, all of a sudden, conversation is away from the suicide, and it's more of like, it is so nice to reconnect with you. Thank you so much for listening. I feel so much better now that you've listened to me. Oh, it's just incredible.
You just need to get it out, you know? So.
Perfect.
Exactly. Well, that's, hopefully this lady sounds sweet, taking care of her parents and stuff. Like, wow. Yeah.